Hey guys. All right, welcome back. We're going to get to a collective message, and this is going to be more specific. I want to know, what is the message that somebody is trying to find a way to say? What's kind of stuck in their throat and it's kind of hard to get out? I keep having like a little bit of like throat chakra, blockage for myself. I started this video already, and had like a little coughing fit. I mean, it's springtime, so there's allergies, but I I'm it has been going on for a little bit now, and I'm like, okay, I feel like there is some message somebody is trying to get to and they're struggling with it. We have Eight of Swords, we have Eight of Coins. Okay, so it's definitely something that a character is stuck on because of that Eight of Swords and eights. This is a carryover from something last year. We have the snake here, a cobra, in fact. Last year was Year of the Snake, now we're in Year of the Fire Horse. There is something a character has been working on, trying to figure out how to say, and the words are still like blocked. The words still won't quite come. There is, whatever this is, it's like they have been going over and over and over and over in their mind. Princess of Cups, it's an apology. Okay, so somebody's been trying to find the words to apologize. They're trying to find the wisdom. Maybe they're even trying to figure out not just the words to say, but is this a good idea? Is there wisdom in me doing this? Okay, we have the Justice card, and the Justice card is sideways. They may say, I need to apologize, but on the other hand, the entire situation is something that, even in their own mind, they might be like, it's not entirely my fault. I want to apologize for my part in something, but it's not all my fault. So it kind of feels like, if they're wondering, how do I say this? Because I'm not willing to say that I'm just, oh, everything is my fault. I'm not just the bad guy, bad gal, whatever. Obviously, we have a person who's turned away from them, but they are covering their own face. So I feel like there's an element of shame on this Justice card. This could be a Libra who feels like they need to apologize, possibly to a feminine. She's sitting, resting her elbow on top of a television set that is playing, one of the courtroom dramas. I don't know if somebody like watches the, like Law and Order, or some of the, I don't even know what all the TV programs are, but I know there's always like true crime or fictional crime, series or docu-series. All I can say is they are aware something. They want to say sorry for their part in something. We have a Five of Wands. Again, busy mind. They're thinking, thinking, thinking. And maybe what they want to apologize for is like, my life was super, super busy, and I'm sorry that I was super scattered. I mean, this is like something in the family home, and that we've got this huge melee, and we've got police involved, and we've got old things being dredged up from the past, and we got some people that are just like, yeehaw, riding on the weasel, telling whoppers of lies, having a good old time. Maybe these are people that stir the pot. Their life could have been filled. Whomever our lead character is, the person who wants to apologize, although only for 50%, they want to apologize. And maybe this is it. Maybe they want to say, look, I didn't do you dirty on purpose. I was buried in something unfair as well. I was buried in whatever this was, this Five of Wands mess. I was a wreck over all of this. We have a Four of Coins. That Four of Pentacles is, maybe they want to say, I tried to keep you out of it. I know it also meant, because we have like an empire with the gates. This kind of feels like the Forbidden City or something in China, or maybe this is a temple in Bali, or they could have been like, stay behind the walls of the city, the safety walls. Stay someplace where there's in this case, there's like gems, there's jade and rubies and all this, and you can sleep well. I didn't want you to be involved in the mess that I had going on. And I'm sorry that it meant I either kept you in the dark about this, and it actually maybe did more harm to you than anything, because it kept you tangled up and unclear. And for that, I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to say sorry. That is what seems to be going on in this person's mind. They want to explain all the many, many layers of a mess that they were embroiled in, but they ended up doing her wrong. They pushed her out of their life. They held back from her, but in their mind, they were keeping her out of harm's way. Okay, what else do you want to say to her? And also, why now? I mean, that's another great question. Why now? Three of Pentacles, and we have Temperance, or the art card. Okay, so first off, when we ask like why now, and we have a rooster, roosters crow at dawn, right? So they are associated with time. This could also be, again, we have a very busy card. We have all kinds of images here. We have a lot going on in somebody's mind. We have multiple people. We have ancient history up here. We have modern technology. We have this person looking at images of like an airplane. We have this little girl here, kind of up above overseeing everything. And I almost feel like one of the reasons they may want to say, like, I know you tried to figure out what was going on to the best of your ability, but I kept you always on the outskirts, because this feminine is kind of like perched out here on the outskirts of all this other stuff going on. And she's like looking down across it, trying to, how do I piece together all the scattered bits and pieces of clues? She may have looked him up online, tried to better understand what he was, when you don't know what's going on with somebody, when they push you out and wall you off, sometimes you go looking for answers, and they may be saying, it's time that I just go ahead and, have this be a new dawning day. It's with that rooster. It's like, maybe it was their ego involved, but there's also something about it's time. And then when we bring in the hands of the universe, dealing a new hand of cards, and two, like galaxies about to collide on this painting here. And you notice there's a ghost town. So it kind of indicates that either something has changed in their own life, where maybe it's like, this is evolved into complete and utter ghosting. Like, I don't know if they have tried to reach out to her and she didn't say anything, or if she's done with them, all because they never bothered to apologize or fill in any of the blanks or explain why they put her on the other side of a wall that they created. If this is part of what, like, they're saying, I owe you the explanation, and I know you won't have anything to do with me. This is all gone. Like, it's a ghost town. Love doesn't live here anymore. You picked up and you moved out, and I get that, emotionally, energetically, or maybe physically, but because I didn't tell you everything, I know you're done. But at this point, the universe is guiding me to say, if you look, I think that they have a lot of bad karma right now because of that Justice card. And if the universe says you need to deal yourself a new hand of cards, if you ever want to get out from underneath this mess, you need to play your cards differently. Otherwise, you're going to stay in this, ghost town energy, this ghosting, this bring her in, give her the explanation. And I feel like maybe because there's a big empty gap right now, there's a big emptiness here. Maybe that's where they're like, I've got to go ahead and do something. I've got to go ahead and say something at this point. If they're going to ever, give themselves a new hand of cards, they got to clear this karma. And that begins with them telling her the truth. So that is, yes, it is partially to alleviate some of the pressure. Oh, hang on. What is your life like right now, character? What has your life been? Ooh, the devil. Okay. So not an easy run. Now this happens to be a very sensual card. So I can't really show all of it. But we have like a whole bunch of people in this card, and they're all just kind of like independently like laying around. It's sensual in the sense that they just don't have clothes on, but it's actually not like sensuality necessarily. Like they're all, in their own separate, almost like they're even unaware that there's anybody else nearby. It kind of feels like languishing and not really doing much is how it comes across. So with the devil card, maybe they tried to have romantic connections with other people and it never worked out. Maybe they feel kind of isolated, or I don't know, this almost comes with an energy of like, I kind of just gave up. You know, I'm not really putting in effort. The people I've surrounded myself are kind of the same. We're all just kind of like floating along, stewing in our own drama that we created and the fallout from that. It feels a little more like that than like this big lusty card to me. Um, and that could be like, you know, when do we make change in life? When we hit rock bottom, when things get unpleasant enough that we're unhappy with what we've been doing, and then that's when we go, okay, I got to make a change. So sometimes, you know, I always say unpleasant or negative stimuli is one of our greatest, you know, like motivators for change. We have a 7 of coins. They have been floating, or maybe they have, maybe the better analogy is they have been down at the bottom of the barrel for a while now. They have been living in shadows. They have been, I mean, we see it here with the ghost town. So I'm going to go ahead and argue that their karma has really hit. Their life is not super joyful right now, hasn't been in a while with the 7 of Pentacles. They may be tired but unable to sleep, because I really think that the energy of, you know, guilt is what it kind of comes across as. Let me just change decks here and ask, what's the deal? Are you in a place of guilt? By the way, there was another deck I had pictured in my mind's eye that I really wanted, and if I, there it is. Okay, I'm going to say if I can find it quickly, I want that one, but at first I wasn't sure where I'd put it. Tell me about, how do you feel about all of this? I mean, obviously, you want to set something right. We have Queen of Cups in the reverse. We have 3 of Pentacles upright. I think the real like drama and guilt factor here is that they may have treated a Queen of Pentacles like she was, or excuse me, a Queen of Cups like she was the problem, like she was a karmic, and made her feel like you aren't good enough to be around me. I want to be with all these other great people. I'm going to boot you out. I mean, when you isolate somebody, it feels like a rejection, right? Even if their idea was I wanted to protect her, it may have felt a lot more like they basically said, you're karmic, you're no good, you're too needy, I want to get away from you. And I feel like that might have been how they made her feel. And with that 4 of Wands, again, we have the shelter being formed by the trees. The cypress trees are wrapping around, kind of clinging together to make this little, you know, safe space for the bird bath. They thought she was a 4 of Wands, the person they wanted to marry, the person they wanted to protect from their own problems. But that is not how it came across. It came across as, I rejected you because you were too needy. There was something about you that I didn't like. Whatever this was, this is the other reason it really came out so wrong. This is the other reason they feel bad about this. Why did you not just fill her in? I ask that question a lot in stories. Knight of Cups in the reverse, because she wouldn't have wanted to come toward me at all. She wouldn't have been attracted to me at all had she known the mess I was in. Page of Swords and the Devil. A combo of fear and like real serious toxicity, but it also, whatever they were involved in, made them feel horrendous, right? This person's riding around in a urinal and there's somebody else in charge even of them. I feel like they were incredibly embarrassed. I feel like it was humiliating for them, whatever they were embroiled in. Maybe it was humiliating because of the role that they were playing with other toxic people. If they were, you know, being danced like a puppet, or if they were being, you know, made to feel very, very small, and they were afraid to get themselves out of it or stand up for themselves because there was a lot of fear there. Whatever this was, they did not want her to see their embarrassment. That's what it boiled down to. So they didn't tell her about this either, because it would have been humiliating. And it would have been like she couldn't see me as somebody that she would have cared about, because I can't see myself as somebody that is strong. And she would have probably figured out all of it. She would have gotten, you know, a glimpse of something, and then from there she would have extrapolated, and she would have been able to see me as somebody who was fearful. I mean, maybe they made some toxic moves too. Maybe they did some things that were wrong. Maybe they got themselves in trouble, and that would have been another layer of embarrassment. But we saw a lot of mess around this person, but they hid it all from her. And instead of telling her I made a bunch of mistakes, and PS, I'm dealing with a toxic group of people, and PS, I'm humiliated by this, embarrassed of this, and I don't want to see you. I don't want you to see me like this. I think instead they ghosted her, they pushed her out of their life, and they may have said, I pushed her into like a safe space where she'd have nothing to do with me. The walls of the empire are high, so as long as she stays within the walls of the empire and stays away from my mess, she'll never see in. She won't see any of this. She'll be protected. She'll stay in a much nicer place than in my very messy weasel environment. This they tried to save their face by not telling her or showing her any of this. But over time, all this has done is gotten worse and worse and worse, because somewhere in all this mess, they feel like the biggest mistake they made was probably in making her feel unwanted, like she was the problem. And I do think that they realized that with the Queen of Cups in the reverse, they didn't just reject her love, they rejected who she was, what she was, and made her feel like she's wrong. There's something wrong about her. So, can we simplify again and say, so what is it that you're going to say to her? I mean, I don't even know if they're going to say it, okay? To be honest, it's what are the words that you're having such a hard time gagging out? Interestingly enough, I haven't had any more clog in my throat during this whole story. And yet I couldn't even hardly begin the story. I got one card out, and by the way, I didn't use this deck or anything, and I couldn't even begin a story. And I was like, okay, we're going to do a story about that. What is it somebody cannot seem to gag out of their mouth? We have a Six of Wands upright, and we have the Ten of Pentacles sideways. So all said and done, they're finally going to let her see the whole situation. They're actually going to give her, I think, the entirety. Here they are again, riding around in the urinal. We have, and on that card before, we had on this Page of Swords, we had the chessboard and the chess game here. And sure enough, here they are with chessboards here and a chessboard in their head. And now they're older too. If you notice, this is a younger person. Now they're older. They look pretty, weathered, I'll say, almost like dehydrated, I would argue. And look at the color tones here. Everything is this terrible, like grayscale. I actually think what they're going to go ahead and say to her is, I'm finally going to give you all the information. Like, I've been so embarrassed and humiliated of what my life has been. I didn't know how to get myself out of it. I didn't want you to see me that way. Either my money was Ten of Pentacles is usually about what I'm giving to. Well, all they were giving to was something that humiliated them. So either they didn't like their job, or they didn't like, whoever puppeted them or something. They were embarrassed about, what they did for a living. They were embarrassed about the way they were treated. I feel like this person is made to feel very, very small, and yet they cannot seem to break away from that. They don't know how to get themselves, maybe they thought a million times, how can I exit from something very toxic? How can I stand up for myself? And they're like, I can't, because my money depends on this. So I keep doing something, but I feel awful on the inside. I feel like this person is basically owned, whatever that means. And they're embarrassed of it. And maybe that's a poor reason for them to have like pushed her out of their life. But remember, if they're this ashamed where they feel like they ride around in a urinal all the time, it's of course they don't want somebody to see that. It's humiliating, but they also didn't know how to let go of the money. They didn't know how to make a change. But this is what they're finally just going to go ahead and let her see, because I think they really, let me ask, why is it that you really want to go ahead and give her this information now? Nine of Cups in the reverse, because like what we said before with the Devil card, they kind of are at rock bottom. They kind of have been reaching that point where it's like, you know what? I feel bad about how I treated her. I pushed somebody out that I cared about. I feel bad about who I am and the life I've been living. And I kind of feel like I've kind of hit a rock bottom place where I just want to like clear my conscience at least and tell her some kind of a truth and give her the full information, because I'm not happy with any of this. The way I've been doing stuff doesn't work. This is them. I think they're going to feel a heck of a lot better. Again, we do see them like being underneath somebody, being, pushed down, but this is them first, speaking up and speaking a truth. I almost feel like this person has been really manipulated, and they This is them actually reclaiming some of their power, vocalize what their situation has been. But if you guys want a part 2 on this, let me know. Give it a thumbs up in the comment. If I see 700 thumbs up, I will do a part 2 on this tomorrow, okay? And that'll be the first video that we do tomorrow. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. Bye.